Sometimes, the world feels like a theater of illusions, a place where the greatest truths hide in plain sight, whispering just loud enough for the brave to listen. I often find myself wandering among crowds, watching faces flicker with dreams of wealth, a better future, a different life. Today, I want to talk to you about something extraordinary, something that most won't even realize until it's dancing right before them, blazing like a comet across the night sky. This is Crypto 101 Central, and what I'm about to share could change how you see everything about investing and your own journey to freedom. Before we dive into this unfiltered truth, let me ask you to do one simple thing: subscribe to our channel. Here, we cut through the noise, together, searching for meaning in the chaos. And if you want to be the first to catch every breakthrough, click that bell icon. Because missing out in crypto is like sleeping through a thunderstorm. The world changes while you dream. So, where does our story begin? Maybe you've heard the headlines, the wild numbers, the race is won and the fortunes lost. Maybe, like me, you've stared at a screen in the quiet of midnight, asking yourself if the world is really as complicated as it seems. Among all the brilliant minds I talk to, 5 shows a day, sometimes more, it's not the titles or accolades that stand out. It's the hunger, the curiosity, the refusal to be lulled by mediocrity. Everyone is talking about tomorrow. They want to know, where do I invest my hope, my labor, my soul, and maybe, just maybe, my last $5,000? When I dig through these conversations, 3 themes keep rising, like mist over a river before dawn. Humanoid robots, prediction markets, and artificial intelligence, not the cold machinery or faceless equations, but the beating heart of new possibilities, tangible and raw. Humanoid robots, what a phrase. It conjures images of silent companions and tireless workers, machines that could, one day, blur the line between flesh and circuitry. Imagine investing in that, being part of the tide, not just the driftwood. Tesla, for the everyday dreamer, seems the obvious choice, but the more you search, the more you realize. The future isn't owned solely by giants. There are pieces, gears, tiny miracles that make the larger machine run. What if you could discover those? Bet not just on the spectacle but on the silent revolutions underneath? Prediction markets, too, stand on the verge of something vast. They don't just move money. They reshape certainty itself, allowing us to trade on the winds of collective wisdom. Sometimes I feel it's like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, watching 1,000 thoughts collide and coalesce, the way the internet once did, invisible but unstoppable. 2026 feels like the surface, the real depth still hidden, waiting for brave souls to peer below. And then, AI, not the mythic promise of super brains, but real things that serve and transform, that make our lives breathe more easily. We're barely past the dawn, eyes blinking in new light. NVIDIA, chipmakers, infrastructure, each one a bridge between imagination and reality. You don't have to see the whole journey to start walking. But let's tear down the curtain. We talk so much about investments, stocks, charts, but what about us? What about the self? I hear this all the time, from leaders in the industry, from visionaries in venture capital. The missing element, they say, isn't technology. It isn't money. It's belief. Do you remember the last time you believed in yourself so fiercely it hurt? When you took a risk not knowing if you'd soar or fall, but knowing you had to try? Most people never really ask themselves, what if the best investment I ever make isn't in Bitcoin or Tesla, but in me? We are scared. Scared to bet on ourselves with $100, $1,000, sometimes even less, the price of a weekend wasted or a comfort abandoned. We forget that the world's greatest investors are not just people holding stocks. They're the restless, the creators, the ones who throw their hearts into the furnace of possibility and let whatever survives define their future. Imagine your living costs. $2,500 a month. For so many, that seems insurmountable, like a wall of stone. And yet, if you could use your energy, your talents, to earn more than any passive income, to build something, anything, from the raw clay of your hopes, wouldn't you? Most overlook this. They chase quick returns, forgetting that true wealth isn't measured only in dollars, but in dreams made real. Here's where the conversation sharpens. You want numbers. You want roadmaps. You want to know, if I buy Bitcoin now, what is waiting for me? I pause, because truth isn't always sweet, nor easily measured. But look at the patterns. Over long stretches of time, Bitcoin has delivered periods of remarkable growth, sometimes dramatic, sometimes painful, always volatile. Think about it. Not just doubling your money in a year, which in traditional investing is rare, but letting time do the heavy lifting. Compounding is a quiet storm. It builds, year upon year, stealthy and patient. Ask Warren Buffett. He started stacking coins as a boy, but much of his wealth accumulated later in life. That's the power of believing not just in a market, but in the story that takes decades to unfold. I often laugh with friends from the crypto world at how different time feels here. In crypto, fortunes bloom and wilt in days, but in the traditional world, even modest long-term growth is celebrated. When you consider Bitcoin, you have to recalibrate your entire sense of possibility. Stop thinking in straight lines, start thinking in cycles and waves. What does that mean for you? It means endurance matters. Patience matters. Vision matters. A willingness to traverse the valleys, because only then can you reach the summits that others never even glimpse. The funny thing? The world will always tell you it's too late. That you missed the wave. That only a chosen few can prosper. But I say, nonsense. The only thing standing between you and those who thrive is the faith to hold, the grit to build, the clarity to ignore the cacophony of doubt. Let me ask you something. Does a dollar mean the same today as it did yesterday? Of course not. The world changes, money erodes, values shift. But one Bitcoin? One Bitcoin remains, bound by its fixed supply, unyielding in its design, a lighthouse in the storm. Decades from now, when currencies have shifted and new systems have risen, that fixed supply will still be there, a testament to foresight and conviction. I sometimes think about leaving my Bitcoin to my grandchildren, a gift not just of money, but of possibility, of a story that began long before they were born, and that will continue echoing long after I am gone. If you've made it this far, I want you to do something for me. Like this video. Not because the algorithm demands it, but because you recognize a piece of yourself in these words, a longing, a hunger, a hope. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one, not as a guru, but as a fellow traveler. Let's build this community into something unbreakable. And finally, don't stop here. There are other stories, other journeys waiting for you in our videos. Hit that bell, stay with us, and together, let's walk into the next chapter with eyes wide open, hearts ablaze, unafraid. Because in a world of a billion illusions, sometimes the truest thing you can do is believe.